On a notable Saturday afternoon, July 16, 1054 AD, as prayer time neared, Cardinal Humbert, Pope Leo IX's envoy, boldly stepped into Hagia Sophia Cathedral. He made his way to the altar and placed a document there, formally excommunicating Patriarch Michael Cerularius of Constantinople. Following this bold act, he left the church, dramatically brushing off its dust from his feet, and soon left the city. A week later, the Patriarch officially excommunicated the cardinal. This incident was long thought to mark the beginning of the split between the Western Latin and Eastern Greek churches, a division that remains to this day, separating Roman Catholics and Eastern Orthodox Christians, including Greek, Russian, and others. However, modern scholars now question if 1054 was the actual starting point of this divide. So July 16, 1054, is recorded as the date of the formal division between the Western and Eastern churches, known as the East-West Schism, stemming from deep-rooted theological and political disagreements. The central dispute among Christian leaders during the Middle Ages was over which church was supreme. The popes claimed authority for the Western Church, pointing to Saint Peter, believed to have founded a church in Rome and was martyred there. They argued that Peter's successors inherited this authority, highlighting Rome's religious importance. In contrast, the Eastern Church advocated for collective leadership, stressing Constantinople's importance as the Roman Empire's capital and the significance of ecumenical councils in church governance. During the Middle Ages, the intense power struggle greatly fueled the growing distance between the two churches. This conflict was more than a dispute over valid claims. It was a fight for supremacy, with political and cultural elements intensifying the religious disagreement. By 1054, these deep-rooted differences had escalated into a full-blown schism. Even small contrasts, such as the Eastern clergy's tradition of growing beards, set against the clean-shaven priests in the West, contributed to the widening gap. In the Eastern Church, members of the clergy, excluding bishops, had the option to marry before their ordination, in contrast to the celibacy required of priests in the Western Church. These distinctions weren't limited to marital practices. The Western Church centralized authority, holding the Pope's rulings as definitive. In contrast, the Eastern Orthodox Church valued a collective bishopric, viewing the Patriarch as a first among equals. However, the most substantial division emerged when the Roman Empire split in 395 AD, leading to not just political but also profound cultural rifts. The Western Church was steeped in Latin and Roman traditions, whereas the Eastern Church adopted the Greek language and cultural practices. From the 5th century, emperors increasingly used Greek over Latin, exacerbating the language barrier that complicated theological debate and communication between the churches. For example, in the 5th century, a letter from Constantinople to Rome went unanswered for months due to the lack of a translator. Similarly, Latin letters from Rome were often ignored in Constantinople, dismissed as unworthy of translation. By the 9th century, some Eastern clerics were asserting that those speaking the language of the barbarians, Latin, should not have authority over Constantinople. The doctrine of the Trinity, especially the relationship between the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, was another major disagreement. Early Christian emperors would call councils to resolve religious debates. The first was in Nicaea, today's Iznik, Turkey, in 325 AD, initiated by Emperor Constantine. The Trinity's nature was further defined at the Council of Constantinople in 381 AD, stating that the Holy Spirit originated from the Father alone. However, the Western Church at the Council of Toledo in 589 AD added that the Holy Spirit proceeded from both the Father and the Son, aiming to elevate Jesus' status and counter heresy. This change, known as the Filioque controversy, from the Latin for "and the Son," didn't initially trouble the Eastern Church due to communication barriers. When they did become aware, they condemned it as heretical. This theological dispute further deepened the rift between the churches, illustrating how language barriers and doctrinal differences intertwined to drive the schism. Initially, churches functioned collaboratively, sharing wisdom and decisions through ecumenical councils. Over time, these councils began to elevate the status of 5 key patriarchal sees: Rome, Constantinople, Alexandria, Antioch, and Jerusalem, collectively known as the Pentarchy. Rome was acknowledged as preeminent among these, but efforts by emperors to boost Constantinople's prominence drew other patriarchates closer to the eastern side, intensifying the East-West division. Popes, once influenced by imperial politics, required the emperor's endorsement. This dynamic shifted dramatically in 726 AD, with Emperor Leo III of the Eastern Roman Empire initiating Iconoclasm, a movement banning the veneration of icons and saints, marking a crucial moment in the Church's religious and political relations. The Western Church strongly opposed iconoclasm, leading to heightened tensions. In 751 AD, when the Lombards threatened northern Italian cities, the Catholic Church sought assistance from Frankish King Pepin. Pepin's victory and his substantial donation of land to the papacy significantly increased the Pope's worldly power, making him a secular ruler in central Italy. This event was a turning point in Christian history, further solidifying the growing divide between the Eastern and Western churches. The tension escalated in 800 AD, when Pope Leo III crowned Charlemagne, son of Pepin, as emperor. This act was seen as a challenge to the legitimacy of the female Eastern Roman ruler, Empress Irene. Even when Nicephorus took the Eastern throne in 802 AD, the papacy and the Franks maintained their claims to imperial authority, further straining East-West relations. The breach widened after the Norman conquest of southern Italy, previously under Eastern Roman dominion. By the 11th century, these territories were mostly Norman, but the churches there continued practicing Eastern rites. In 1054 AD, the Pope demanded these churches adopt Latin rites, inciting fury in the East and leading the Patriarch of Constantinople to shut down all Latin churches in retaliation. In June 1054 AD, Pope Leo IX's delegation, including Cardinal Humbert, went to Constantinople, leading to bitter talks and reciprocal excommunications with Patriarch Michael on July 16th, marking the definitive split between the Eastern and Western churches. Initially, the East-West schism's impact on the general populace was minimal, as Christians in mixed regions continued to maintain cordial relations. However, as time progressed, the divide grew, especially as the Crusades exacerbated conflicts between the two factions. The situation reached a peak in 1204 AD during the Fourth Crusade, when Latin forces seized Constantinople, significantly worsening the rift. Efforts to bridge the gap between the churches were largely unsuccessful, leaving the schism unresolved even to this day. And that concludes the second episode of our series, Tracing the Journey of Christianity. In the first episode, we examined its early days. You can watch it here. Coming up, we'll explore the rise of Orthodoxy and the Reform movements. The last episode will focus on the history of the Anglican Church. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to let us know. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss out on our upcoming videos. Have thoughts or questions about what you just watched? Leave a comment below. We love hearing from you, and we try to respond to as many comments as we can. Also, for more content and behind-the-scenes updates, follow us on X. And remember, sharing is caring. If you think someone else might enjoy this video, please share it with them. See you in the next video.